Welcome one and all to Academic Probation out of school suspension. During the quarantine, we are trying to keep ourselves lively and jovial, so we have decided to start up our first official day of a new D&D campaign. If you watched last week, it was kind of a mess, but this week we are jumping back in with a proper setup and layout and proper D&D. So, last time we played a simpler version, but today we are playing properly. We have characters, worked out characters with backstories, and this is taking place in the living, breathing world of Kendor, which takes place on the planet just called The One. So, we've got a whole host of new characters, all of whom are played by our very own improv troupe. So, without further ado, welcome to the world of Kendor. We open on a cool winter's morning in the town of Raverum. Slight dew mist across the fields far from the city's center. Farmers who've been awake for hours toil against their grain. Lanterns and torches in all of the homes begin to flicker to life. Raverum is a large city town located directly in the center of the state Apo. Apo is the haven of peace in Kendor. It's a nation that begets jealousy in all others, since they've never faced the terrors of war. Apo is a blend of human and elf inhabitants living peacefully, but today, that blend is very different. Today is March 12th, 1402. Another day for any other state, but to Apo, March 12th is a very important day. March 12th marks the 400th anniversary of the state's existence, and on this day, councilmen and nobles from all across Kendor come to join the state in its celebrations. The town of Raverum is no different than many other large cities in Apo, as they've set up their yearly festival directly in the town center. The town's well has ropes hooked to it as massive balloons soar above the town with the numbers 400 floating for all to see. The streets are sectioned off with booths set up for multiple vendors, food aisles, games, and areas to test out spells and weapons. Long tables adorn the other side of the square, fitted with blue crystalline table covers that shimmer as you move around to see them. Chairs and seating for hundreds, if not thousands, are set up here, with plates and silverware setting off on a cart at each aisle ready to be set later in the day. The town hall's gates have a massive banner that says Happy 400th Anniversary, but one of the letters has been scribbled out and replaced with another to correct the spelling. Each storefront has signs signifying different deals for the holiday, and some people even begin lining up outside of the doors hours in advance in the early morning. And nowhere has this morning started better than for those in the Dashing Lad, Raverum's best and only tavern inn. Slow but energetic tunes play throughout the inn from a small elf on his drums, and a few gentlemen are sitting at the tavern quietly chatting, and our adventurers sleep mostly soundly above. The tavern's inn is packed. 4 floors of rooms totaling 450 rooms on each floor, each one packed with 1 to 8 people. Relatives, travelers, sightseers, spring breakers, and more have all packed into this tavern just for a taste of Apo's celebrations. As you awaken on the first floor, please, Kalik, introduce yourself.
I am Kalik. I am from Urami Apo. And I am here for the big festival. It's very exciting. And I'm also here with my sister June.
And as you rise out of the bed, the creaking of the floor begins to slowly open your eyes, June. Please introduce yourself.
I'm June Evergreen. I am the younger sister of Kalik. I decided to come with her on this trip to see the great festival. And I'm a halfling that was adopted by our parents.
Yes, absolutely. So as the two of you begin to wake up, you get a better look at the room you've been sleeping in the last night as the sunlight beams in from the single window. 2 beds sit 15 feet apart with a set of bedside tables between them, adorned with quill and paper and a small candle. Across the room is a simple oak wood wardrobe and a clothesline with a wash bucket and soap. The standard arrangement for a room of this size at the Dashing Lad. What do you guys do as you wake up?
You down for some breakfast?
I guess. How early is it?
Oh gosh, I don't know. early enough for food, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess I can go for food.
All right,
Alright.
so you guys begin to make your way out of your room. And now we move to the same floor, different room. Oz, please introduce yourself.
I am Oz. I have come to this village on through my travels, and this is just where I stopped at for the night.
Absolutely. At the crack of dawn, you feel the blankets ruffle over top of you as you push them off the rickety bed and onto the floor. You swing your feet over and yawn, take in all the air as you get ready to see what Raverum has in store for the festivities you've been hearing so much about. Your room is the standard single-person room. As such, it only has a bed, table, chair, and a door lock. A single window points towards a large farmland where boar and sheep roam, and you can see a small dog trying his best to keep them all within the square footage. What do you do as you rest your feet over the bed?
I'm gonna go try out some of that delicious food they've been telling us about.
Absolutely. So you begin to head downstairs. On the top floor of the Dashing Lad, we find Rashiger. Please introduce yourself.
Rashiger, here for supplies.
Here for supplies. Very simple. Much like Oz, your room is the standard. Just a bed, table, chair, and window. You, however, on the top floor can see much farther from this height than Oz could. And you can see the massive mountain ranges of Apo and Shetland extend over the curve of the horizon. You can see large birds and creatures that are merely specks from here circle around the mountain peaks and land loftily on top of the snow and ice there. What do you do?
Can I survey the room?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's middle of the day, you can see perfectly fine if you're just looking to see what's there. There is nothing in this small accommodation room. It's for one person. It's as tight as it gets. You have a bed, your chair, your table. On the table, there are little like sketchings on there that people have cut in with knives, some initials, and a few cracks are on the chair that looks like you would be scared to sit on it at this point.
I'll grab my stuff and head downstairs.
Absolutely. And in the largest room, the penthouse suite, right next to the top floor stairwell, we find William. Please introduce yourself, William.
Um, I'm William Eyelash. I'm 19. If you know me, it's probably because you know of my Distress at the Tavern cover band.
Absolutely.
Where am I from? I'm from Daikon in Noddle.
Yes, the human city of Noddle.
Hmm.
So you are waking up in a spacious, well-furnished loft. Finely woven animal skin sheets and cases rested you through the night while laying atop of a multi-thousand feather mattress. The floors are light to the touch as your bare feet are met with a wolfskin rug that lays atop a dark oak wood floor beneath. Candelabras hang along the walls, and your table houses a large area to organize all of your belongings, and even includes a few traveler's trinkets to take with you, such as a flint and steel, horse leads, and even a full water canteen. Wardrobe, clothesline, fireplace, and hanging rack all lay to one side of the wall, while crafting tools, sewing stations, and iron sharpeners is set against the other. What do you do?
Gonna go check out. Wait, what do I see?
You see an assortment of different tools in this room. This is a very large open room, and it's meant to give you all of the accommodation in the world.
Okay. Um,
Anything you would have asked for is here.
okay. Is there like just like food?
Yes, there are like
Alright.
small muffins in a basket along with cookies and a little vial of orange juice.
Oh my god, I'm gonna full send that orange juice.
Absolutely. So you kind of stay in your room and have a little bit of a breakfast on your own.
Mm.
And as you all awaken and get around for the morning, eventually each of you decides to funnel downstairs at different times throughout that morning. The downstairs tavern is extremely large, but it is not nearly large enough to hold all of the people staying in the rooms above at once. That's why, as you round the bottom of the stairs, large bollards block off different sections of the tavern, creating a zigzagged line of waiting patrons looking to check out or get room service. The path ends at the doorway and at the front desk, so you have to wait in the queue to go either way. Regular seating and tables are sectioned off only for penthouse renters or folks hired for music. The line extends 100 plus people all waiting in line for the front desk, while a stream of 50 or so walk in and out of the section to the exit. So you can pretty much, if you stay in line, you can choose to get to the front desk or you can choose to squabble out. So I will give each of you the options, starting with our Rich William.
I'm gonna go outside.
You're gonna go outside. So you kind of look around, and as you pass through the group of people, this is a very tight corridor, and you can see that there's this small elf on drums playing off in the corner of the tavern, and there's a few well-to-do noblesmen sitting around some tables that are sectioned off for penthouse only, which you have. So you could go to that area if you wanted, but you decide you're gonna keep walking, and as you step outside, you see just massive amounts of people gathered around the town center, and you can see a few half orcs pulling giant wooden pillars out to the center near the well in the middle of the town to set up what looks like a podium stand for someone to give an announcement in a short while. We move on to the sisters.
I think we should go outside.
I agree. I could use some
There's so
fresh
much
air.
to explore. Like,
Right.
no, we're outside of Miami. Like,
Yeah, I'm always down to explore.
let's see
So-
what's going on.
As you guys are pushing through the crowd, this is shoulder to shoulder. You can barely breathe, let alone think. But as you're walking past, you see a small wooden signpost against one of the walls, and it just simply says 9 a.m. Town Hall. And obviously this has something to do with the festivities, as it has the same embroidered logo as all the other festivities. And you guys head out and you see around the same site, different times. Oz, what are you doing?
I'm gonna stay in line.
You're gonna stay in line. So you stay in line, and the queue goes a lot faster than you expected. Even though it's 100 people, it seems like this guy at the front desk, it's one guy, and he is efficiently pushing people through. And as it's finally your turn, you see this young kid who looks to be barely in his teens, with this long flowing white hair and this very, very prestigious coat, stands at the front desk. Hello, sir. Do you need us to get anything out of your room, or I'm sorry, there's so many people. How can I help you?
I like to know what's the best food here.
The best food? Well, unfortunately, we promised a lot of people that there would be food, but there's no food today because we had to section off all the areas because there's so many people. But you can go outside. There's plenty of vendors here open in about an hour.
What vendor would you recommend?
I would recommend just about anything that's got food, but if you don't hurry, you're going to miss a lot of it, and that's why I'm trying to talk so fast because we have about 100 people in line. So if you could just, pick something and leave.
I'm all good. I'll leave.
Okay. Sir, and you walk away. Let's go to Rashagur.
I'll stand in line and check out.
Stand in line. As you stand in line, you eventually get through the queue of people. You could say that there's a few older gentlemen giving you odd stares, and it might be because you do stand out in this crowd a little bit from your height and race, but no one seems to be... People seem more intrigued than anything. As you get to the front desk, the young man looks to you. Hi, how can I help you?
Check out.
Check out. Yes, absolutely. And he says, all right, what room number?
Top floor.
Top floor. I have a 1 in 450% chance. That's not right. What number?
I just turn and walk away. I just leave. I walk out.
Next! All right. So, all of you have, one way or another, made your way out of this tavern. As you approach the outside, you can hear the 9 a.m. town bells begin to ring. as the mayor stands aloft a wooden stand with a small podium. Around you in this crowd are easily 40,000 some people, all standing in massive waves across this town's center, this massive town center. He announces, this mayor who's standing on the podium, "Today is a day for history to remember. 400 years of peace, tranquility, and harmonious living between all kinds. The ravages of war need not traverse these lands, as they once did 400 plus years ago, for peace rules above any authoritarians. Today we open our streets to all, giving business to our locals, food to our citizens, and welcoming an embracing hug to those who wish to celebrate Oppo with us. Citizens and travelers, welcome to Raverum." Horns blare as the small band begin to feverishly play a jovial tune, moving everyone to start exploring the day's festivities. What do you guys want to do?
I would like to scan the area for vendors.
Absolutely. So as you look around, you see that there are a lot of places to go to here, and in fact, we are going to move to the town. So this is the layout of the town, and you can see that the city's center is very large. It is a good 15-minute walk from the Dashing Lad to the other side of the street. This is massive. The only places that you've heard of from the tavern so far, as far as established businesses, are the Dashing Lad and their sister company, Smithereens, the local blacksmithing place. As you explore the town, you see that there are multiple vendors' booths set up, and the most notable of these seems to be the ones with the longest lines. A place called Drinky's Ale, Sir Tex Tools, Equin's Fortune, and Bellhopper's Strength.
I'm gonna go check out Bill Hopper's Strength.
So, as you get in line, you see a bunch of young kids, anywhere from 10 to 25 years old, human boys and girls, all lining up at this giant, mastering skyscraper of a bell ringing game. At the bottom, you see a chicken skull attached to a pull string and a giant pressure plate at the bottom, and this massive sword that has been blunted at the tip and replaced instead with a ball of metal is being swung as hard as possible to send this chicken head up into the air to ring a very tiny bell all the way up at the top of this machine. And you see a carny standing right next to it, and he yells to the kids, "Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, get the chicken head to the top of the bell, and you can win yourself a lucky prize to meet the mayor himself."
I'm gonna step up.
You step up after waiting in line. You can see that there's a little bit of a strategy here. It's not about how hard these kids are swinging, it's about how precisely they're hitting the center. So you step up, you crack your knuckles, and you grab this giant sword, and the carny looks over, he says, "All right, young man, now you're going to give it your best shot, and if you can get that chicken head all the way up to the top, you're going to get to meet the mayor himself. Now go ahead and give it a swing. I need you to give me a strength check." Okay. That's not too bad. You pick this sword up, and it is a lot heavier than you thought. And you kind of like feel your body begin to shuffle as you pick it up, and you slam it on, and the chicken head goes whoop, and gets just a little bit below halfway and falls back down. And the carny says, "Now, come on, kid, give it another swing. I know you got it in you. You get 3 tries, 2 more. Go ahead." You pick the sword back up. Now that you know the weight behind this, you feel confident. You lift it up with all of your might, and you hold it above, and you let out this guttural scream as this giant sword with a ball attached yells, "Ah!" And you smash it onto the plate, and the chicken head soars into the sky, and you hear in the faint clouds a bling as the chicken head falls back down. Ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a winner! Come on over and grab your ticket! And he steps you aside and he hands you this little ticket with the mayor's face embuttoned as a little stamp, and he hands it to you and he says, now after the festivities at around 10:30, go ahead and head over to the town hall where you get to meet the mayor himself!
Okay, but where can I go get food?
Well, go to any food place. I recommend Drinky Ales. It's my favorite. Now, you enjoy your visit, young man. And he
Thanks.
looks to the next person. All right. What else? What's everyone else doing?
I have to do that.
Yeah?
Same thing. I have to.
So you see people, and you can hear the bell ring like once every 10 minutes. It's not that common because a lot of people are young. But you step up to the plate. Ah, you might have a better chance than most. I see you're probably not from here. Go ahead and give it a swing. You lift this sword up like it's nothing. Everyone looks at you in amazement as you just pick this thing up like it's nobody's business, and you don't even look stressed. You just slam it down. The chicken head goes, whoa, all the way up to the top, and you hear the bell go, ring, as the chicken head falls back down. Why, that's quite a strong arm! Come on over and grab your ticket!
Want to do it again?
There's
I get
no
3
need to
tries.
boast, you almost broke my chicken! Now here's your ticket, and in about 25 minutes you'll be able to meet the mayor himself. 10:30 sharp, be at the town hall gates. Best of luck to you.
I'll take the ticket.
Alright, who is next? Who wants to go next?
I'll go. What do I see? What are the places again?
So you have Drinky's Ale, Sir Tech's Tools, Equin's Fortune, and the Bellhopper's Strength game.
What? There was the tools and the other. What was the other one?
Equin's Fortune.
What is that?
Fuck, I want to do that.
I want to go. Can I go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, this giant purple tent adorned with these golden pieces of rope tying it into the stakes on the ground sets up near the back left of the town. And as you approach, you see young kids walking in and out of this, and adults and couples and families alike enter. Some people enter with smiles on their face, others leave in tears. And as you approach, you see just before you, a young woman steps inside. You can hear a slight muffled speaking. You hear a and then the woman walks out and she appears to be crying.
Oh. What's wrong?
And she walks off.
I just walk in the room.
You walk in.
Okay.
As you walk in, you see this purple tent appears to be much larger on the inside than it appeared to be on the outside, but you're not sure if this is an optical illusion or some kind of magic. But as you walk inside, the ceiling is embossed with these sparkling star-aligned ceiling tiles, and from them hang tiny stars rotating on a little pendulum each. The floor doesn't seem to have anything but the grass that this side of the town square has, and a old woman in a long robe and black veil sits at a table with a crystalline ball in the center and slowly looks up after moving her hands on it. I knew you'd be here today. Take
How?
a seat. All will be answered.
Okay, sit down.
There are millions of worlds within this ball, all of which could be the future for you all. You came here alone with no one but yourself, but soon you will leave, knowing no one else. A flash appears in the cavernous tent, and your eyes glaze over white as you see flashing of images of hundreds of people lying in a burning center of this town, and the mayor himself, his skull decapitated, rolling onto the ground. And you can see this group of 4 other people standing with swords and staffs at their side alongside you, staring at this ungodly cloud of red smoke, and you can see a giant blackened figure begin to exit, and just before you can make out any features, the cloud disappears. You are retched back in your seat, and the old woman looks to you and says, "You'll be the ones to stop it."
What is? Huh?
"That'll be 30 gold."
Okay, pay her.
And you give her 30 gold, and she says, "And if you wish to know any more, you will soon enough."
Oh my god. Okay.
She sits there just staring at you.
I just walk out. I just leave.
All right. Sisters,
So, what's there to do around the town
you have
again?
Drinky's Ale, which appears to be like a brewery food place. Sir Tech's Tools, which is like a little pop-up shop for different tools, tech gear, weapons, spells. And Equin's Fortune, which is a little fortune-telling booth. And Bell Hopper's Strength game.
Are we old enough to drink? Probably not.
You know
Mom
that
and
in
Dad-
Oppo, there are no restrictions on any kind of substances.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I can
Mom
do
and Dad
crack.
are here, so like, we could.
We could, Mom and Dad would never let us do this, but
Yeah, but like, I mean, what if they find out?
trust me, they won't. As long as you keep your mouth shut this time.
Okay, that was not my fault. Not my fault. Mom's just a mind reader.
Okay, Miss Junie. Does anything seem fun around here to you?
Fortune thing seems pretty cool.
I mean,
like-
say so.
But like, food's good.
Mm, I could use a new bow. Why don't we go to the smithing place?
Yeah. That sounds great.
Cool. You guys head to Sir Tech's Tools. Sir Tech's is not like the other booths here. This is actually a larger booth, and there are kind of like rows of tech items and tools for you to look at, and people are kind of like walking in a zigzag line along all of the aisles, kind of like a flea market. And you see this younger guy with a monocle and a wooden arm that is moving almost impossibly with what would look like a human hand. He is walking in and around the rows looking at everyone, and he doesn't appear to be talking or anything. He's just kind of making sure no one's up to anything bad.
I'm going to browse through what is being displayed.
Yeah, so some of the most prominent things are tech items that you're not really sure what they do. You see like this candle that apparently when you go turns on. It seems kind of gimmicky, but you see a lot of people, like kids, keep going like just watching the lights in the row flicker on and off. You see this sword that levitates very lightly, and there's like a little try me sign pointing to the handle, and as people lift it up, the sword self-rights itself. So even as they twist their hand this way, the sword's hilt floats in the center of their palm. You see this floating ball of crystals, like crystals aligned into a ball, and as people put their hands to it, the ball begins to open and they can reach their hand inside, and when their hand is fully inside, the crystals form around their hands as this almost gauntlet of sharp crystallized knives, and they can kind of look at it, and as they pull their hand away, it yanks off of their hand and goes back into the ball shape on the table. You don't see anything relating to crossbows, but it seems more like a gallery of cool magical items.
I'm gonna go stick my hand into the crystal
Yeah,
gauntlet sort of thing.
absolutely. So you go over to this, and you can see the younger guy with the wooden arm steps over, and he says, "All you have to do is slowly reach your hand into this, and you will feel the power of ancient stone golems thousands of years old imbue your hand with the power of crystalline strength."
Junie, I don't think this is a good idea.
Everybody else has like been fine doing it, so like I should be fine. I'm going to stick my hand into it.
You slowly reach your hand out, and you see these crystals begin to crackle and shatter apart as they expand, and you stick your hand inside, and you can feel the sharp edges slowly begin to form around your hand. And as they fully enclose, it doesn't feel uncomfortable, but it's definitely tight. And you can pull your hand back just a little bit and begin to articulate your fingers. And there's this weird sensation, this not burning, but very warm feeling glowing from these crystals. And you feel as though you could pick up anything with this hand. Anything that was burning or freezing, you feel like nothing was getting through this barrier. And as you kind of entice this feeling for a second, the crystals begin to dissipate off of your hand and flow back into the ball form. And the man looks to you and says, "I've spent hundreds of years trying to protect this from others, but now I realize the more I learn comes from the more others attempt." And he points to his own hand. And he says, "With this energy, I was able to imbue my wooden prosthetic with the nerves of my own body."
I'm really uncomfortable with this. Let's go somewhere else.
It's not as weird as it sounds. It was just a lot of time and effort. I'm sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable.
I mean, it sounds pretty cool though, doesn't it?
I don't like the idea of a bunch of rocks controlling something.
The rocks aren't controlling it. Technically, we're controlling it. You know.
Whatever.
I think you just need to relax a little bit. Come on, we're here to have fun. What can happen?
Okay. I stick my hand in as well.
As you reach your hand in, the same thing that happened to your sister happens to you. And your hand is slightly smaller. And even though your hand is smaller, the crystals almost themselves seem to get smaller to accommodate your hand and fit the exact same shape. And the man is just kind of sitting there awestruck that you just had that conversation right in front of him. And is just kind of looking around, kind of staring at his own hand like, "Oh God, do I control this?"
Can I ask him how much the
My
crystal
hand
ball...
cannot be bought.
No, like the crystal ball, like thing caught, like that, like we're putting our hands in, the different one.
I'm not selling anything here today.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you or anything.
Absolutely not. If you would like to come back when we close the booth, I could tell you more about how this works, and perhaps remove the spell that stops it from being stolen. If you would like to try it.
What time do you close your shop?
I give Junie a look.
I ignore said look.
10:30 is the lunch break.
What do you think,
10:30
Caleb?
p.m. or a.m.?
A.M.
A.m. Okay.
That's
If
another
you had
lunch.
lunch at 10:30, there would be a problem.
Hey, you don't know. I had
You
breakfast
know me.
for dinner.
And I assume
I
you
would-
guys...
Yeah, we leave.
Yeah, we're Well,
He
we'll be
gives
back.
you a very solemn wave with his hand and kind of looks at it as he does it to make sure that he's choosing to make that action.
Did we just make him have an existential crisis?
I think he is.
So, do we assume that to some extent everyone visits everything?
We haven't been to Drinky's Ale.
No one has yet. What I do want to say is, does everyone here feel like they would go to the fortune teller?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
Well-
all...
I would. I really don't think I would.
Sure. The three
Yeah.
of you enter this tent, and much like what William saw, there are people either walking out very happy or very sad. And as you each enter, do the sisters enter together?
I think we go. Do you think we should go together or one at a time? I mean, I
I think
have
you
some questions.
run in. You run in, and I go to follow you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna sprint in. I have questions that
Sprint.
need to be answered.
You sprint full bore. Oh,
Little halfling just.
I see. There's a bit of a rush. You can't rush truth. Take a seat.
And I enter directly after.
Her eyes are closed. And your sister may take a seat as well. And she floats her hand around the crystalline ball. And she says, "Sisters together but born apart. Where does your love come from if your heart does stop?" Your eyes fade white as Kayla gets this vision of her sister laying dead on the ground, eyes full of blood, with a pool of organs laying around her, as a giant blackened skeleton hand is reaching through her stomach. And as you begin to move your head up towards the figure, your eyes whisk back to the room. As your eyes go shut, June begins to see this horrible vision of a field of thousands of trees of asunder on fire, being wretched in this massive forest fire that is unquenchable, and the ocean turns red and brown with the trees falling into it, and blood of thousands of soldiers littered across the coast. And you shock back into your seat as your eyes open and the woman stares. Bad fortune all around. There's nothing good left for the end of this town. That'll be 30 gold each.
This stuff is such a hoax. I pay her anyway.
Thank you.
A minute. Before we leave, I want to ask her something. Do you think you might be able to?
Yes, I can
enter...
tell you all about where you were born. But not today.
Would you at least be able to tell me about this coin that I have?
Perhaps it will be valid to someone who it means something to. But that person will never be me or you.
Come on, Junie, let's go.
I'm hungry. Let's get some food.
I
Or
agree.
go home, whichever one. Whichever one's fine.
Enjoy your food.
Bye, ma'am.
And you leave. Oz, do you enter the fortune teller as well?
I do.
You see the same sight, and as you enter, she sits you down. Ah, a priestly boy. Tell me, before I tell you your fortune, what made you a believer?
When two priests took me in.
And these priests, you knew them not, is that correct?
Yes.
The faith in others is quite impeccable, and perhaps Your death. And your eyes fade to white as you see 4 people standing around you in a circle, each with blades pointed at your throat. And as you begin to realize that you are surrounded, all 4 lunge forward, and as you feel the tips of the sword enter your neck, you breathe back to life sitting in your chair. Those you do not know may not always be the ones you trust. It is your choice to choose the party you leave with, or your life will turn to dust.
Thank you.
That'll be 30 gold.
Where? It's a lot of gold. I'll pay her.
It's a lot of fortunes to tell. Thank you.
I'll pay her.
She takes your money, chucks it over her shoulder. She stares at you. Before you leave, do you think your gods can protect you?
I know they can.
And it's that conviction that makes all the difference. Enjoy the festival.
I leave.
And you leave. So, you all leave. Do, all of you try the strength game before we get to the ale.
I've already done it.
Same. I'll do it again though.
I had heard that, like, the prize was meeting the mayor.
Yes.
And after my vision, I am extremely compelled to find any way to speak with him.
Okay.
So I go try it out.
Absolutely. Go ahead and give me a strength check.
Alright. Oh, shoot, man. Okay. Oh boy. Hang on. Oh, wait. Sorry.
So,
Let me know if I
you
did it wrong.
step up, and the carney looks at you. Young boy, I see an instrument on your back. Hopefully your musical talent isn't what makes you a hack. I learned those rhyming schemes from the old woman in the tent. Go ahead and take this sword and give it a swing. He hands you this giant sword, and as you cock your hands back, this is not an instrument. This is way heavier! And your hands begin to shake as you pick it up, and you half-heartedly just kind of let your arms flop onto the ground as the chicken's head goes whoop! And you don't hear the sound of the bell, just barely, as it crumbles back to the bottom and lands. Give it another go. You get 3 chances to meet the mayor himself. Go ahead and give another swing. 9. That took a lot of energy. That was not an easy thing to pick up. And so as you lift it up again, your arms have deteriorated in strength, and you and you drop it back down, and it only goes a few feet off of the ground. Young man, now I believe in you. Give it another swing with everything you've got. And as you pick the sword up, you see the carney give me a perception check.
Okay. Where's that?
It's
Oh,
a
wait.
skill.
Oh. Oh god. Okay.
Yeah, so as you're looking at him, you see that behind his back, he does like a little like motion. And as he does that, the sword begins to feel much lighter in your hand. And you cock it back, and you swing it down as it regains the strength that it once had, and slams to the ground, and the chicken's head goes woo, ding. You hear the bell ring at the top, and he says, "Wow, kid, for a musician, I didn't think you had it in you, but I had a feeling that you would make it." And he gives you a wink, and he hands you a ticket. 10:30, not too far away. Go ahead and meet the mayor. He's right beyond those gates. And he points over to the town hall gates. Who else gives it a go? The 2 sisters try?
I mean,
don't
it's free. It's free. Come on, it's free. You should do it.
You know, I suck at everything.
It's free. Who cares?
Ladies, no need to bicker. There's enough swinging for the both of you. Why don't you both give it a swing at the same time, and I'll give you both a ticket if you make it.
Fine.
All right. He hands the sword to both of you. Both of you give me a strength check, and we'll see how you guys do as a group.
We just click on strength, right?
Yep.
Oh gosh, I don't.
Got a 12, a 19. As you pick up the sword, there's a little miscoordination between the two of you. One of you starts to swing it to the left, the other one's pulling to the right, and you somehow end up with it both in the center. And you cock it over the middle of your bodies using both of your arms, and you swing it down with all of your pressure, and it swings up into the air, and you hear a ding 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 bell ring at the top, and the chicken head falls back down. Having two people swing it is a little unfair, but I knew you'd do it with or without each other's help. Go ahead and grab a ticket.
Thank you.
What
Yes.
time do we go to the town hall?
10:30. The mayor will be waiting, mustache and all. And he hands you your ticket.
We're gonna go back to the booth.
It's whatever you want to do at this point. You've dragged me to both of these things, and doesn't seem like I have much of a choice anymore.
So you guys walk away from there. Does anyone choose to go to Drinkies, or do you guys want to cut ahead?
Can I do another perception check, see if I can pick up anything about that guy working at the bellhoppers
Give me
game?
an insight check.
Gotcha. Where is it? There it is.
You look, and you kind of have this like connecting the strings moment, where you notice that this guy looks very familiar. And you start to remember all the people you've seen in the day. This guy looks almost related to the older woman in the tent.
Okay.
But besides that, he just seems like a normal carny, and it might be a coincidence, but that's what you glean.
Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna head over to Drinkies after that.
Absolutely. You head over to Drinkies, and you see these two dwarfs just skittling their little feet through this metal almost trailer with two holes cut out of it. One for drinks, and the other side is for the food, where different things are getting served out each window. And they're just scuttling their feet along this trailer, grabbing things off of the shelves that they can barely reach. And little step ladders are everywhere so they can climb up and grab cupboards. And as you get closer to them, you realize that these are twins. And the two dwarven twins are scuttling around, and as you get up closer to the line, one of them looks to you and says, "What can I do you for, young man?"
What you got?
"What you got? I got everything! What do you need?"
Surprise me. What's your favorite?
"Surprise me? I can certainly do that." And he runs and scuttles. "I need a surprise!" And the other dwarf nods to him. "All right, I got it!" And they, across the trailer, throw bottles into the air. The bottles shatter midair, and the liquid inside of them fill into a cup, and you can see one of the dwarf picking the glass out of the cup that was left. And he swirls it around, and he puts it on top of a stovetop. One of them gets on a ladder, opens up a cupboard, and you see this brown powder begin to sprinkle inside of it. He puts it back. He zooms himself across to the other side of the trailer. He opens up the cupboard, and you see he has this giant package of some white powder, chucks it over his shoulder to the other dwarf. The dwarf stabs it with the sword, and the powder begins to fill into the drink. He sloshes it around. He throws all of the liquid up into the air, catches it in the cup, and hands it to you. A surprise.
Can I tip them? I'm very amused.
I will be very happy to take a tip. I would also be very happy to take a tip.
I tip them both. How much is the drink?
The drink is 30 silver.
I'm gonna give them 5 gold each, and then I pay for the drink.
Oh my god! And a surprise we got in return, isn't that right? It was another surprise!
Those two brothers from Animal Crossing. Me and Tommy.
Names are?
Excuse me?
What's your names?
Jimmy and Johnny!
Of
love them. I tell them to have an extremely good day.
Well, now we're gonna have a great day because we can get anything we want. Thank you so much. Wait, what's your name?
Oh, my name's William Eyelash.
Jimmy Jobby and William Eyelash. Now that's a group that I can get behind. You come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Walk away.
Amazing.
So the bells begin to ring as 10 o'clock passes, and as it gets closer, you hear the bells of 10:30 begin to ring. Shorter bells, not the same as an hour, but they tell every 15 minutes. As the bells ring, the town hall gates begin to swing open, and you are able to step inside.
Oh, wait, who?
Everyone,
All of us?
you all have tickets.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay.
I'm gonna
wanna
make my
look at-
way
I want to
inside.
check and see if anybody's staring at me.
Yeah, you don't need a check for that. There are a lot of people kind of looking at you.
Great, we love that. Is there anybody I can fight?
You feel like if you got into a fight here, you're heavily outnumbered.
Yeah.
And there are guards everywhere. Just to be clear that in this massive group of people, there are hundreds of armed men standing around watching over people.
How big are the gates for town hall?
Larger than any gates you've probably ever seen for a town. Like, these are giant metal iron gates, and on the top of them flower petals amass, and it's this archway of gates that open, and it's probably 3 times your height.
Are they bigger than the buildings or smaller?
They're bigger than the buildings, except for the tavern. The tavern is taller.
Yeah, because the tavern's huge. I'll try and push my way over to the gates then.
Yeah, so you push through the gates, and you see that there's this queue, this line, and it says ticket holders only in this, like, chicken scratch font. And you see maybe only 50 people are in line. Is everyone else in line?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what, Kaylik? I've decided the last 2 things. You can decide what we do now.
You know what? That gauntlet thing was pretty cool. I do think we should maybe look into that.
Yeah. You know, there's a bunch of people going to the town hall. It's gonna be like really crowded.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So you guys head back there. For the rest of you, as you stand in line, you get closer and closer through the queue, and there is this middle-aged, very hairy gentleman who stands at the front of the line, and he's just a human, but he's just got a lot of hair. He's got a very, like, thick double chin, and he's kind of like stamping tickets right in the button in the middle of the ticket. He's stamping that out and holding it into a little jar. And let's say, I think William will be first. William gets up, and the man looks over and says, "All right, I just need to check your ticket here. Go ahead." And do you hand him over your ticket?
Yes.
Yeah, you hand him his ticket, and he goes, "All right, that looks to be valid. Now you head on inside. Now when you go inside the gates, you need to take a left-hand turn. First left on the left, right? Take a left, walk down the hallway, take a right, and then you'll see the king's quarters, which doesn't actually have a king. It's got our mayor, but we call it the king's quarters because we like him so much. Now you go ahead, have a nice time. You need to be back out here by at least noon, okay?" Absolutely. Well, you have a wonderful time, William.
Oh, how do you know my name? Oh!
And
Okay.
he lets you pass.
Okay. So I turn the... What do I see? What's this corridor look like? Is it like there's like a bunch of doors, or?
Well, for everyone else who walks in, this gentleman stamps your ticket and says your name as well with a wink. Does anyone have a different reaction to this, Oz or Rashagar?
I don't care for that.
No,
You just walk past it?
I don't question it.
See
I'm
no
just like,
evil, hear
whatever.
no evil.
I very question it.
Yeah? To
I
his face or just in your head?
Oh, to his face.
Well, you have a wonderful time inside there, Rashiger.
How do you know my name?
Well, silly. The gameskeeper told me.
How do you know the gamekeeper? How does he know my name?
Well, he said that you told him. He asked for everybody's name when he gave him a ticket.
Not from what I remember.
Well, he told me your name, and is that your name, Rashiger?
I walk away. I just
And
walk into the corridor.
you walk on inside.
Are we
So-
all walking in at the same time?
There's
More or
like,
less.
you guys were in the queue together, not that you know each other, but yeah, I
Right.
mean, the 50 so people are all funneling through at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
And we have to be out by 12?
right, it's 10:30 now.
Okay.
So as you guys enter there, we cut back over to the sisters, and as you approach the Surtex tools, you see that there are a few humans with Surtec, which you assume is the guy, because it's Surtex tools, and he's, picking up a few things that he looks over. Young ladies, welcome back. Are you interested in trying out the crystalline power for yourself?
Yes, sir.
I shyly nod.
He nods over to one of the humans, and this human in a cleric's outfit slams his staff on the ground, and you can see the crystals fall to the ground, no longer taking their ball shape. And he says, all you need to do is step forward and place the center of your palm on the center of these crystals, and they will begin to climb around your hand. Now, it will be kind of weird, but they'll climb around your hand and embrace themselves to your fingers. And once you do that, he pulls out a burning hot ember from one of the fireplaces nearby. I want you to hold on to this with your bare hand. And you can see that he's holding it with a wooden hand, and he doesn't seem to be catching any fire.
Well, do you want to go first?
It's now or never. Let's go. Put my hand on the orb.
The crystals begin to ant march all around your hand. Hundreds of them begin to march and crystallize themselves around your hand. And as you feel your hand become very, very stiff from the pressure of these, you feel this of energy, and suddenly your hand turns a glowing blue and the crystals disappear. And he holds out his hand, this ember.
I pick up the ember.
So, there's no crystals on your hand, it's glowing blue. You grab the ember, and you see the fire and smoke rise on the ember, and your hand feels perfectly room temperature as you hold this burning hot orb.
So, what's it like?
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, doesn't hurt at all. It's just like holding a rock.
That's crazy.
And in that power, he says, and he motions his hand like this, and he says, simply look at the rock, move your hand up, and watch what happens.
I move my hand up.
As you move your hand up, the rock just hovers and jumps up into the air for a second, and the flame extinguishes as it turns into a molten ball of iron. And it levitates in your hand, and you slowly can move your hand around this, and as you try to hold back onto it, you realize that you are pushing it in mid-air, and it stays the exact same center of your hand no matter where you push it.
Oh my god. This is amazing.
Oh my gosh. I think this definitely beats meeting the mayor.
I agree.
Well, it is with that power that I was able to do this. And you see that he opens the center of his shirt, which has a small button, and you see inside on the other side of this shirt is a wooden torso. And as he opens the button, you see a small vault wooden door open, and you see that same burning ball of metal floating in the center of his chest. It is with that power that I could bring myself back to life. And he closes the door and buttons the shirt back up.
That's impossible. You've got to be pulling one on us.
But yet you saw it.
It just can't be. By saloon, this just isn't a thing. This can't.
I've heard that so many times. Every cleric that I ever spoke to said I was dead. And yet I live. And it's all because nothing can hurt me. And he takes a knife and he stabs your hand. And the blade breaks.
A little warning next time would be great.
It would have taken
Just
all the
saying.
fun.
Why us? Why would you show this unimaginable thing to us?
To be honest, you were the first people to insult me to my face, and I felt like I needed to prove that I was cool.
I'm so sorry, we did not mean to insult you.
I hope I've proven my point.
Yeah.
And he says for you to put your hand back on the table so he can remove the metal iron ball and the spell.
Yeah, I put my hand back on the table.
Yep, and he is able to levitate it with his own wooden hand out of yours, the metal ball, and you see the crystals begin to reform and fall onto the table.
You want to try it next?
I don't know. I feel like this goes against everything that I stand for. I'd rather not.
Okay,
There
that's...
is nothing wrong with that. I hope you both have a wonderful festival and happy 400th.
Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for showing us this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That was only about 2 or 3 minutes, so you guys could still go to the town hall if you want.
I mean, we have time when we have the tickets.
Let's go see what this mess is about.
So you guys go through the same thing, but the line is gone. The queue is done, and the guy seems to be packing up the line that he had and is beginning to close the doors. And here I thought I wouldn't see you. The last 2 tickets. I'll go ahead and take those from you.
Hand over my ticket.
Alright.
I handed mine too.
He stamps. June and Kalik, you go ahead and have a wonderful time. The mayor will be very happy to see you.
How'd you know our name?
Why does everyone keep asking me? The bell ringer told me.
We never told the bell ringer our name.
And that is the 3rd time I've heard that today. Go on, head on inside, alright? We've been waiting. He gives you a wink.
It's such a weird day.
You know, I'm realizing how great home is.
Yeah, same.
As you guys enter inside the town hall, this is unlike anything you've ever seen. The outside of this is a giant cobblestone, kind of like castle almost, and there are different bells and archways and pendulums that swing on the top, just as aesthetics. But as you walk inside, it takes on a very naturalistic sense, with walls made of mud that have been sanded down and inscrawled upon with murals and different tapestries. The ground is a matted grass that has been finely mowed and laid atop with this misty plastic almost to kind of keep it in the same shape. And the furniture is made out of twisted dark wood, and different types of twigs and leaves are stuck all around to make this kind of look like a giant tree on the inside, but just made of mud. As you walk inside, you see plenty of different offices. There's a giant corridor straight ahead, leaving this wide opening with different doors at each way, and at the very end of the hallway is a giant stained glass window, and then there's a giant hallway to the left, and then at the end of that hallway is a hallway to the right. And as you follow that path, which everyone else is, does anyone decide not to follow the group to the directions you were given?
I don't remember the direction, so I probably go a different way.
You see everyone in the line going a specific way.
I'll follow them then.
Cool. So everyone.
Do any of the doors look like super different? Like,
No.
are they all like, pretty uniform? Okay, I'll follow.
Cool. So you guys walk, and as you round the corner to this right-hand turn, the room immediately opens up, and you see where all of the space in this building goes. There is a gigantic courthouse that could fit probably 5,000 people in it, with balustrades up above that you can sit on, and rows of seating, almost like church pews, but in a halo ring. And at the center of this is a podium that can be opened by the side. It's a round podium that someone stands in the middle of. And along the edges of this center square are seats, so that anyone who is doing a trial or is on trial or is a jury can sit at the feet of the judge almost. And the judge stands at this center podium in the middle and can turn 360 to look at the whole crowd. And in the center is the mayor himself, with the guardsmen standing on the open areas and some scattered around the seating in the balconies and the bottom rows. As the 50 or so of ticket winners enter, you hear just a very light, almost windy song, like chimes playing off in the distance. There's nothing all too crazy about what you're hearing, except for this like faint knocking that's just constantly happening through this hall, and it echoes into the distance as you begin to walk in, and you look around at all the other people, and you can't see where it's coming from, and you're not exactly sure what it is. But as you get closer and you begin to take your seats, you see that the mayor in the middle pulls out this gavel that he's been lightly knocking against the inside of the podium. So you all take your seats, and there's like a little section sectioned off for the 50 ticket winners. And I'm gonna actually roll. I assume the sisters sit together, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the 5 of you. Let's roll a luck check. 70% for 8. So the sisters sit down, and as you take your seat, Roshiger, you sit down next to this, these two half somethings. You're not exactly sure. They both seem a little bit different. You don't really know too much about other types of people. You don't really care. But you happen to sit next to them, and there's some guy next to you that kind of just seems like an old fart. He's just sitting there with his mouth kind of drooping, and his arm is way too far over on your side of the armrest. And he just kind of like... And Oz, you sit down on the backside. You sit kind of near some people. There's no one of note, but you are very close to an exit aisleway. And William, I assume that you're going to try to sit at the very front and away from people.
Mm-hmm.
So you sit as close as you can to the mayor, trying to get the best look at him and trying to get the best opportunity to talk to him by setting yourself alone. And you set off on the corner near the aisle as well. The mayor stands about 6'1". He's a human man with a great twizzling mustache, a receding hairline, and he stands at the front of all of you and says, "I know that many of you have waited many moons to meet me. I've been locked away in my tower of sorts, which is technically a castle in the king's room, of which is neither a castle nor am I a king. And I've not made many public appearances, and for that I am deeply sorry. I should do my due diligence to my people, but I work so utterly hard to make sure that your lives are good that I just cannot find it in me to roam amongst the streets with you. However, Today is a day of celebration, and for the next hour and a half, I would like to personally take you through the history and journey of our town and all of the wonderful things within it. He stands at the podium, and you see that one of the guards pulls out this giant whiteboard with lined pieces of paper on it, and he flips a giant piece of paper over.
This is a
In
fake.
1002, Oppo was formed, and in its wake 6 cities were built, one of which being the city of Raverum, our very own town. Of the 6 cities, no one knew much of what would come of this newly formed state, as prior to this moment it was filled to the brim with war and chaos. But our fearless leaders stood above all else, and they said, "No!" And the guard puts a big no on the board, and then he says, "War!" And the guard writes a giant war, and he underlines it. The year 1002 was the year of no more war in the cities and state of Apo as it had newly been formed.
How long is he gonna talk for?
The other cities that were formed were as such, and the guard flips the whiteboard to a new page. Clapathebe,
Dude, can you move?
Bryraimi, Kalentigu,
You okay?
Duracoma, Lurinini. These towns formed the beginning, and in the midst of them was the capital, Tonium! And the guard writes Tonium in all caps. Any questions so far?
Yeah,
Yes, you young orc.
can I go? I'm too dumb for this. I gotta
Himbo.
go do that strength thing again.
What would you like to know about our town or our state?
I stand up.
Y-
What is the
yeah.
point of gathering us here?
I'm leaving. I'm out.
You are actually in the middle of a group of people that would be very hard to get out of.
Can I stand up?
Can I just stand and
There
just
are
stand
actually a
there?
few other people, as they see you stand up, Kalik, other people start to stand up, and there's all like kids, and the kids are standing up like, "Yo, Mr. Mayor, this is kind of whack. I thought that we were gonna get to hang out, but like, you're like lecturing us, dude."
Yeah, I
Young-
agree with the kids, man.
Young ones, I assure you that our town's history is not only rich, but plentiful with stories of your parents, your grandparents. There are many things that you... Shut up, old man! And you see
I
a
don't
kid,
know my parents.
starts booing like a... And there's just boo, 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 boo across the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not mean to bore you, but on the 400th day, I thought it would be...
Boo.
Can I try to get his attention over all of the talking?
Go ahead and give me... What do you say?
I'm asking just basically like, can I speak to him like alone?
Give me a persuasion
Briefly.
check.
Okay.
How good was that? I didn't see it.
It was a 17.
17. As you hear the crowd bellowing with their boos, you go ahead and yell out to him.
Mr. Mayor!
You may address me as not King, Mr. Mayor. That's what my young daughter calls me, and I...
Boo.
my god. Can I please talk to you alone
Kids.
for a moment? It's urgent.
You know, actually that'd be wonderful. Guards, if you could bring out the hacky of sacks! And he takes you and basically walks you to the other side of the courtroom. And these knights bring out like hacky sacks and beanbag and yo-yos and start handing them out to everyone. And one
Whoa.
of the guards looks to the crowd and says, "Look, I'm really sorry. I didn't think that he was gonna just start lecturing. But I do have a And then he kind of like ruffles through a bag, a stuffed bear with a broken leg. And he hands it
Dibs.
to Raw Sugar.
Hell yeah. I'll take it.
And other guards are passing things out, and one of the guards gets to the front of the courthouse and just starts going like, "Alright everyone, we're gonna play a game called Dragon Says. Dragon says, I'm gonna steal your gold. Everybody, try to grab the gold." And he throws these like little plastic gold pieces into the air. You are taken aside, William, and the mayor looks to you and says, "Young one, please do not spend this time to ridicule me or to call me terrible
No,
names."
no. That is quite the opposite. In fact, I don't know how to put this lightly. And I don't know if you're going to take this seriously, but I was at Equine's Fortune, and oh boy, did I see some things. Namely, your head rolling through the streets of the town on fire.
Equine is a quack. I'm sorry to inform you. I've had many people today say, "Mr. Mayor, the town will burn. Mr. Mayor, the forest will be on fire. Mr. Mayor, my friends will die." And to them I say, "And it cost you 30 gold to find that out? Sounds like someone here has died financially." And I have a chuckle to myself, and they look very forlorn.
But if that many people have been going to you, do you not think it's at least a little bit of a safety precaution that you should be taking any measure to protect yourself, the city, especially on its 400th year? Like,
He
I don't
takes
think that
you
we
by
have
the
long.
shoulder, and he says, "Young man," and he points to the stained glass window, "there are 700 guards, finely trained, standing right out there. And let me ask you something. Do you trust the word of a fortune teller who just told the exact same fortune to 500 to thousands of people? Maybe, perhaps, Equine just ran out of ideas."
I tell him I think otherwise. I think he should take it a little bit more seriously. It's very real.
I promise
for his
you,
life will-
young man, I am doing everything in my power to make sure that you, your friends, and everyone here, including myself, are safe. And he kind of like wiggles his own neck. "I'm making sure that this stays right here."
Okay. If anything weird starts to happen, I implore you to let me know. I'm in the
I
penthouse.
assure you that
At the
my
end.
guards will know much earlier than you, young man. And he pats
Alright.
the instrument on your back.
Alright. I tried. I go back
Alright, you go back.
to the crowd.
The mayor walks back up to the podium. "I've changed my mind. Instead of telling you the history," the podium disappears. He steps forward. "I'll instead show you." And he,
Wait.
yes, in the midst, you can do something before he starts to do whatever he's gonna.
Can I leave the room to go find a bathroom?
You will not have time, as the room fills with smoke as two wizards smash their canes onto the ground. And as the room begins to fill with smoke, you hear the doors close. As the room fills with smoke, you lose all of your sight. You cannot see a thing through this dense white smoke, and instead the smoke begins to shimmer and shine, and before you notice it, you have fallen to the ground It is a grassy plain, and thousands of miles of open plains stand around you, and the other 50 are gathered here beside you, and the mayor stands where he was, and the guards are still scattered, and the mayor says, "This is what the town looked like before anyone had inhabited it." And he points behind you, and you see a man taking a stone and smashing it into the ground, and he says, "The first brick of the entrance of this very building is being laid right now." And the young man is toiling away, smashing this brick into the ground. And it was this moment in 1002 that this very courthouse was built. And he directs all of you to begin walking towards the young man, and he begins walking over there. And as he approaches, he slices his hand through the young man's body and says, "It's just an illusion. But what is not an illusion is this." And he points to the stone, and everybody can kind of gather around and look at the stone. And on the stone, you see that on the inside of it, there's these glowing blue ruins. And the ruins look like swirling marks that end in a fine point that is tipped with the sheath of a dagger. And as the rune glows, the mayor says, "This very stone is built somewhere within the building that we are in now. And it is this stone that has kept this city war and terror free for months. This very stone is imbued with the magic of the rune of good and evil. Should any creature or monster with malintent begin to appear, the building would begin to glow with a blue aura. The walls will expand, the furniture, the leaves will seek into the mud and into the walls and the ground, allowing enough for 50,000 people to hide fearlessly inside of this very building. Nothing in, nothing out." As the young man toils the brick into the building, the mayor kneels right next to him. "This young man is my great, 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 great grandfather. Great. And this very stone has never been found, nor has anyone tried to find it, as it is buried at the center of what we believe to be the entrance. But there are so many bricks under the ground that we may never find it, and for good reason. If it were not for that, there are countless times that our gods would not have been able to respond days, weeks, months in advance. We have stopped all evil in the town of Raverum. And I'll tell you a secret. Every other town hall in the 6 cities and the capital have one of these bricks." Some of the kids ooh and ah in the crowd. And he looks
I
out to the crowd.
right along with him.
He looks out to the crowd and he points again behind you the other direction where you're originally facing. And you see that over the rolling hill by the mountains that you could actually see out of your bedside window, you see a cavalry of humans rolling over the hill on their horses. And as they trot, the young man looks up, and into the sky he throws a burning blue ball of flame that seems to get its power from the rock as a beam of light shoots up into the air to meet the rock, this blue orb, as he throws it, and a beacon has been formed, and the horses charge towards it. And the mayor says, "And it's this beacon that called those who wished to escape the reign and terror of the surrounding lands at the time. You see, back here in 1002, Shetland didn't exist. There was no great library. There was no great other peaceful nations. There were those that had their hands in war, those that were clean but participated through tariffs, but there had never been a land that was a beacon of good against evil. And as the hills began to unsheath the millions of potential dwellers of this land. My great 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 grandfather great held out his hands wide spread for all to enter. The fog disappears, and the courtroom appears as it once was. And if you would look at the time traveling, even in memories, does take up an amount of real-world time. It is almost noon, ladies and gentlemen, so I implore you, please, take your leave and take the knowledge that you have and keep it a secret. And the guards open up the side so you guys are able to leave.
I want one of the guards to fix this bear. You should have had a broken leg. I've thought of nothing else.
You go up to one of the guards. What do you say?
Can you fix this? Please?
I don't know how to sew.
What?
I look like I know how to sew. Look at me. I'm fat.
Yeah,
I'm overweight.
You're small and you've got nimble fingers. Just
because I have nimble fingers doesn't mean I can just sew things. That's quite rude.
You're rude.
Oh, you're He takes the bear and he jams the leg back up into it and he says, "All right, I fixed it. Now leave."
Give back.
He throws it to you.
Thank you. Now, like, walk away.
You're welcome. All right. So you guys are free to leave.
I go up to a guard and ask where the nearest bathroom.
We don't have any bathrooms here. The floor is made of mud, so you can use that. Don't actually. That was a joke. There's a bathroom on your left.
Thank you.
Yes.
I go into the bathroom.
Absolutely.
Is there anything special in the bathroom?
A urinal. You walked into the wrong.
As you walk into the restroom, you see that this is like a family restroom, and basically there's just some troughs against the wall and a wooden hole with a little door in front of it that you can just kind of like slide like a curtain. But there is a little, it appears to be like a scented candle that's lit above your head, and you realize that the bottom is cracked, so there's a little bit of the wax that's dripping directly onto the toilet seat. So you see that people have taken a line of toilet paper and glued it to the wall, so that while they sit down, they can hold it up to stop the oil from dripping onto them.
Innovation.
For the modern age.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Were you taking a piss or not? What's
Yeah, I guess I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah, you go to the bathroom, and the rest of you, while you're in the bathroom, I assume your sister is waiting outside. As you guys are, the guards stop you before you make the final right turn to take the exit, and they say, "Now remember, there are plenty of people out there who mean to do you harm." And you look, and this is the same guy who got your tickets. This is that guy. There are plenty of people out there who mean to do harm to the towns and to you yourself. I hope that you stay safe and keep the knowledge that we've taught you here very secret, because if you don't, very bad things could happen. You know, that whole story about the brick being laid, a lot of people actually think it's rumor. The mayor swears by it, but I'm not too sure myself, but I wouldn't go digging around anywhere. Now, I hope that and in that moment, you feel the ground begin to shake. And I need everybody to make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh my gosh.
I told him that's stupid.
If you rolled under a 15, you're gonna take 2 points of damage. And everyone else takes 1 point of damage.
Aww.
As the ground begins to shake, there is a violent as bricks and stone and mud soar across the hallways and begin to sort all of the corridors. The guardsmen are thrown. You see people from the other end of the hallway thrown against the wall, their bodies instantly splat against the wall, coating the muddy walls in blood as their helmets and armor crack and shatter onto the ground. And you hear a roarous begin to form as dust and dirt swarms across the ground and the corridors begin to crumble from above. You feel the ground begin to shake, and below you cracks begin to form in the mud. And around the corner you see a caravan of 20 different raging teeth dwarfs digging out of the ground, crawling up, and they begin to slice and dash the guard who was just standing before you against the ground, ripping into his armor. And I need everybody to roll for initiative. And that is where we are going to leave off for this week, and we will be back next Friday, potentially recorded or live streamed with the continuation of Academic Probation's D&D game. Thank you all so very much for watching, and have a very good night.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.